What's going on, guys? UFC Fight Night Garry versus Prates just went down last night. We're going to be going over every single fight on the card, giving you my recap and breakdowns for each one. Let's get straight into it. Chelsea Chandler versus Jocelyn Edwards. I picked Jocelyn Edwards to win. Wasn't expecting a finish, though. That was pretty impressive. Good way to start off the card. Uh, Early on in the fight, Edwards gets a takedown, controls her for a bit. Chandler gets back up, and then Edwards just starts swinging and gets her up against the fence and lands a nasty left hook that looks like it put Chelsea Chandler out cold. Like, the shot landed, Chandler went limp for a second, dropped down to her knees, but then kind of recovered and tried to get back up, but ultimately just crumbled to the ground, and Edwards gets a first round TKO. So, yeah, good win. Let's move on to the next fight. Great way to start off the card. Timmy Kawamba versus Roberto Romero. This was a pretty interesting fight as well, but I just wasn't expecting it. Timmy Kawamba went out there. I was expecting him to be the usual Timmy Kawamba. Pitter patter, low output. Uh, you know, trying to land some power shots, but kind of just sticking to his, you know, point fighting kind of game. Roberto Romero is the more aggressive guy usually from what I've seen, the more powerful guy from what I've seen, and I was expecting him to go out there, push on the gas, and eventually find the finish, or just win a damage-based decision on Timmy Kawamba. So yeah, for Timmy Kawamba to get the finish was pretty impressive. He hit a flying knee. We're gonna talk about the stoppage in a second because it's a bit questionable, but yeah, I mean, Kawamba hurts Roberto Romero, lands a nice head kick, rocks Romero again. Um, they end up like kind of near the cage, and then Kawamba throws a jumping switch knee and puts Roberto Romero down. And then Roberto Romero doesn't even get a chance to recover. The ref just calls it. So yeah, a bit of a weird stoppage, bit of an early stoppage in my opinion, but he probably would have got finished anyways. Good win for Timmy Kawamba. Let's move on to the next fight. Jacqueline Amarim versus Poliana Viana. I picked Amarim as a lock, and she gets it done by sub. Obviously, Poliana Viana can't defend takedowns. She is kind of helpless off of her back, even though she does have some submissions off of her back. Her actual get-up game is just not that good, and anybody with a high-level grappling background is not going to get subbed by Poliana Viana off of her back. So yeah, couldn't defend the takedowns. Tried throwing some stuff up, but couldn't get anything. And Amarim eventually finds the submission by rear naked choke. So yeah, good win for Amarim. Let's move on to the next fight. Cameron Simon versus Malcolm Wellmaker. I picked Wellmaker by TKO in the first round. He gets it done by TKO in the first round. Lands a nasty right hook that just drops Simon and slumps him. Cameron Simon continues to fight aggressive like DDP with no defense, and that just doesn't work in the bantamweight division. Middleweight's a lot different. There's a lot of goofy goobers up there, but down at bantamweight, you just can't fight like that, and he just doesn't want to change his style, so he's going to keep getting clipped by these high-level strikers. Talbot clipped him. Wellmaker clipped him. Like Cameron Simon is very good. Okay, he's very skilled. He's quick. He's got good boxing. You just can't fight like that at bantamweight. You know, marching forward, marauder maxing, like freaking trying to swing these wild open hooks with nothing behind them, no defense. Like you just can't fight like that at bantamweight, and it costed Cameron Simon in this fight. And now he's on a 3-fight losing streak because his style just isn't that effective at bantamweight. So yeah, Malcolm Wellmaker though, sick counter right hook, catches Cameron Simon, slumps him out, and Wellmaker, dude, this guy's good. His striking's crisp. He kind of has like a Peyton Talbot type stance, but with a wider base. So that makes me think he's going to be a little harder to take down. That's why Peyton Talbot was taken down so easily by Roundy Barcelos, is because he has those closed legs and that tall stance. Wellmaker's a little bit more reinforced with his base, if that makes sense. He's a little bit wider with his stance, but like the upper body stance, very similar to Peyton Talbot. He has a similar frame to him as well, kind of similar striking style. And dude, this guy's power looks legit. Um, yeah, Malcolm Wellmaker, man. Bantamweight division is on notice because this guy is going to be a serious problem on the feet. And I think next for Malcolm Wellmaker, dude, putting out Cameron Simon like that in the first round, that's an impressive way to beat Cameron Simon. Nobody's ever done him like that. Rodriguez beat him by decision. Talbot, yeah, Talbot beat him up, but took him to the second round. Wellmaker lands one clean shot and puts him out, so Wellmaker deserves a fun fight next, in my opinion. Maybe give him like Alatang Haley, who just lost later on this card. Maybe Wellmaker versus Alatang Haley could be fun. But yeah, let's move on to the next fight. Speaking of Alatang Haley, here he is. He just lost to Damon Blackshear. I got my pick right, and don't mind the numbers. They're in the wrong places accidentally. Um, I wasn't really paying attention, but yeah. Anyways, Damon Blackshear, very crisp on the feet. He was throwing some switch kicks to the body, good right hands over the top to Alatang Haley, and he just cleanly outstruck Alatang Haley the entire fight. 30-27 to him, outstruck him every round. Haley was landing some decent shots, He was kind of marauding forward, landing some decent punches over the top, but nothing really good was getting through. Damon Blackshear just stayed composed, outstruck him, and his striking's looking very improved. I know on the feet in his last fight he didn't look that good, but I think that was more just like him trying to wear Cody Gibson out and just letting him do his thing. Here he looked a lot more active, he looked a lot more sharp. I was expecting this fight to go to the ground because both of these guys do have the ability to take fights to the ground, and they both do it pretty often. And I was expecting maybe Alatain Haley shoots a takedown or Blackshear gets a takedown, and once they're on the ground, Blackshear's sub is very live. But yeah, Damon Blackshear, clean performance, just outstrikes Alatain Haley. And I think next for Damon Blackshear, I want to see him get a ranked opportunity. I want to see Damon Blackshear versus like a Rob Font maybe. I think Damon Blackshear versus Rob Font could be a sick fight. Maybe that's too far into the rankings. Maybe like if Ayman Zahabi loses to Jose Aldo, Damon Blackshear versus Ayman Zahabi could be a fun fight. But yeah, Damon Blackshear gets it done. Let's move on to the next fight. Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. I picked Gutierrez by decision. He gets it done by decision, a split. Pretty close fight and a decent fight. Not too entertaining, not too much happened, but Chris Gutierrez just stayed in there, outstruck John Castaneda, was landing the low kicks, was landing the jabs. I'm seeing some people call this a robbery. I completely disagree. Definitely a really close fight. You could argue it going to Castaneda, but I think Gutierrez getting the win was valid. He was outstriking and outlanding Castaneda in pretty much every round, except for the third when Castaneda started landing a bit. And the takedowns, Castaneda didn't really do much with it. Gutierrez got the knockdown on the first. That was easily Gutierrez's round. Round two, same thing. Gutierrez just outstruck him. Round three, I did give to Castaneda because, he got almost 3 minutes of control time and slightly outlanded him in strikes. But all in all, good performance from both guys. They both look decent. And Gutierrez, he gets another win. He's very underrated. One of the most underrated fighters in the division. And I just said, he's a little bit more consistent than Castaneda. He'll get the win. And he does. So, yeah. Good win from John Castaneda. No. Good win from Chris Gutierrez. Excuse me. Let's move on to the next fight. Evan Elder versus Gage Young. Another decent fight. Nothing too crazy, but pretty fun to watch. Evan Elder gets the win. He just outstrikes Gage Young comfortably. Gage Young did have some good moments, and he was hanging in there, but Evan Elder, man, he's underrated. He's really good. I think he's going to be a problem at 155. He's got kind of like a Michael Chandler style if Chandler was smarter and more composed. Like, if patient Michael Chandler was actually good at fighting. 'Cause you know how Michael Chandler has his aggressive form, which is where he does good, and then his patient form, where he usually just gets beat up. Evan Elder's kind of like if patient Michael Chandler was good. He's got good shots over the top, good combinations, heavy body kicks. Evan Elder's good, man. He outstrikes Gage Young, wins all 3 rounds on all 3 judges' scorecards. Clean win from Evan Elder. Not really any grappling in this fight. Both of them attempted takedowns, but none of them landed a takedown. A little bit of clinch control, but not much at all. And yeah, Evan Elder just outstrikes him. Gage Young, man, he's good. Don't get me wrong, he's pretty good. Evan Elder is just very underrated, so, a lower level guy like Gage Young is going to look like that against Evan Elder, who I believe is pretty close to ranking level, in my opinion. From what I've seen from Evan Elder so far, he's pretty good. And Gage Young, he's going to be decent in the unranked area, but I don't think he'll ever be ranked. Evan Elder, I think he'll maybe be around the 15 to 14 area, maybe just outside the rankings, because he is good and he has a hard style to deal with. But yeah, Evan Elder gets the win. Let's move on to the next fight. Matt Schnell versus Jimmy Flick. I went with Jimmy Flick by submission as an underdog, and I thought he was going to get it at some points. He was jumping some guillotines. Both of these guys, okay, let's just get this straight. This was a fun scrap. A lot of reversals, a lot of takedowns, some fun striking, a lot of ground and pound, submission attempts, everything, dude. This was a fun grappling match, right? This is how you make grappling fun, with these reversals, these slick takedowns, ground and pound, submission attempts. This is what I mean This is what I want to watch when I say I want to watch fun grappling. This is fun grappling right here. Not fucking cage control for 15 minutes, alright? This is what I like to see, alright? This is a fun grappling back and forth scrap. First round, they're both landing some decent shots. Jimmy Flick starts being aggressive, lands a good 3-piece hook combo. Then eventually finds the takedown, controls Matt Schnell the rest of the round. Second round, same thing. Both of them are landing some decent shots. Schnell's just landing the better shots, though. Flick gets the takedown, controls him for a bit. Schnell eventually does get a reversal, which was cool. And then lands some good elbows on top, does some good damage, cuts Jimmy Flick open. Probably steals the round, but I don't know. You could argue that round going to Flick. But yeah, good round for Schnell. And, dude, third round. They go at it, striking it out on the feet. Schnell's landing the better shots. Flick gets some takedowns. They both jump guillotine, which was really funny. Both of them were jumping guillotines in this fight, and yeah, I thought the one guillotine that Flick got, I really thought Flick was gonna get it there. He looked locked in, but Matt Schnell gets the decision win, survives the submission attempts and the grappling. Flick usually is really dangerous to deal with on the ground. I thought if this fight hit the ground, Flick would find the sub, but he didn't, and Schnell gets the win. Glad he didn't retire. He put on a great fight here. Let's move on to the next one. Ikram Alaskarov versus Andre Muniz. I picked Ikram as a lock. He was my second most confident pick of the card, and yeah, I don't really know what I was expecting. It happened exactly like I expected. I don't even know what to say about this fight. Muniz looked old. Ikram was just quicker, landed the better shots, eventually catches him with like a check left hook, and Muniz just does like the old man wobbling and crumples down, and he gets ground and pound TKO'd by Ikram. Yeah, nothing really to say about this fight. Ikram's back in the win column. He's still dangerous. He's still good. People shouldn't have been counting him out after the Whitaker fight. He was always going to beat Muniz. Muniz is old, and he looked old in this fight. So yeah, Ikram Alaskarov gets it done. Let's move on to the next fight. Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. This was sick. This was a sick fight. Both of them showed up. Both of them looked good. First round, Randy Brown's clipping him up. Dalby's trying to get up on the inside, trying to land some good shots. Randy Brown lands a big shot that just scrapes over the nose of Dalby and just completely breaks his nose and pushes it over to the left. It looked really fucking gruesome. There was blood shooting out from his nose. It was all broken and messed up. But then Dalby makes a bit of a comeback. Comes back near the end of the first round, drops Randy Brown. Randy Brown goes down, and Dalby gets on top. Tries to look for some ground and pound, looks for some control. Sick first round, nose break, knockdown. A lot of fun moments. Second round, holy shit. They just start scrapping, going at it. Randy Brown starts brawling in the pocket. Clips Nicholas Dalby up against the fence, hurts him bad. They end up circling out, and then Randy Brown lands like a Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje style, overhand right kind of thing, and just puts Nicholas Dalby out cold. First person to finish Nicholas Dalby. That's a great win from Randy Brown. Great performance. Nicholas Dalby is no joke, and Randy Brown just handled him. First person to finish Nicholas Dalby in his entire career. And Randy Brown continues to be the most underrated welterweight on the roster. He should have beat Brian Battle. That was a robbery in my opinion. I thought he beat Brian Battle pretty comfortably. And, dude, other than that, his only loss in his last 10 fights is JDM. Like, seriously, his only loss in his last 10 fights is JDM. The Brian Battle fight, sure, on paper it's a loss. It was a robbery. Should have won. Dude, KO and Nicholas Dalby, beating up Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, KO and Muslim Salikov. This guy's on a bit of a roll. Beating Brian Battle. I don't care what anyone says. He beat Brian Battle. Dude, Randy Brown's looking good. He's one of the most underrated fighters on the roster. I think he deserves a ranked opponent. And I think a good next fight for him, somebody who's kind of near that 15 to 10 area, who would be a good introduction to the rankings for Randy Brown and a good test. Somebody who also fought on this card a little bit later, Carlos Prates. I want to see Randy Brown versus Carlos Prates. I'm just going to say right now, I'm not going to say too much about the Ian Garry Carlos Prates fight yet, because we still have to get to that, but Prates looked very beatable, and I think Randy Brown could be a bad stylistic matchup for him. But then again, Prates might just catch him. Who knows? But yeah, Randy Brown, Carlos Prates, make that happen. I think Randy Brown could win that. He's one of the most underrated fighters on the roster. Let's move on to the next fight. Michel Pereira versus Abus Magomedov. I'm not even going to waste my time too much on this fight. Michel Pereira looked terrible. He wasn't being explosive or doing anything crazy at all. Trying to stay composed, trying to reserve himself. Didn't even throw anything. Still gassed out. This guy has the pound for pound worst cardio in the UFC. Like, literally, there's fat unranked heavyweights that have better cardio than this guy. Like, it's actually crazy with how good a shape he's in, how bad his cardio is. Like, seriously, I get my pick right. Abus wins. A technical decision, just outstrikes Michel Pereira. Mixes in some grappling. And Michel Pereira, dude, just didn't fucking do anything. So, yeah, he deserves to lose that. And next for Michel Pereira, just feed him to a good up-and-comer, because I'm not interested in Michel Pereira fights anymore if he's just going to do that and not be exciting. Didn't even try to do shit. Maybe his coaches were trying to tell him, hey, you got to turn it down. Can't be doing that crazy shit anymore. But that was just insane. Like, come on. The crazy shit is what made Michel Pereira the fighter that he is. Michel Pereira was never supposed to be this good ranked fighter. Seeing Michel Pereira in the rankings is just wrong. He's supposed to be this unranked guy that's very dangerous in the first round, but if you get past that first round, you beat him, right? Anybody who's anything in this division will beat Michel Pereira. You know, if you're a bit on the lower end side in the unranked area, Michel Pereira can cause you problems, but Abus is underrated. He's good. So yeah, he gets the win. Michel Pereira, just give him to any unranked up and coming guy. Move Michel Pereira out of the rankings and rank Bo Nickel, because Bo Nickel and RDR are fighting next weekend. So then we can have Bo Nickel versus RDR, both ranked fighters, and yeah, it'll be interesting. Remove Michel Pereira from the rankings. He shouldn't be ranked. Maybe do like Michel Pereira versus Shara or something. That could be a fun fight. I think Shara wins that comfortably. But yeah, as for Abus, what's next for Abus Magomedov? Because Abus actually looked decent. He was actually throwing stuff, actually trying to fight. He looked good. He looked technical. Abus Magomedov. I think next for Abus Magomedov, since he is ranked now. Um, I think next for Abus Magomedov should be like, I don't know, like a Marvin Vettori maybe. Marvin Vettori or like a Brendan Allen. I think those would both be good fights for Abus Magomedov. Not too high in the rankings. Yeah, I think Marvin Vettori or Brendan Allen should be next for Abus Magomedov. So yeah, good win for him. Michel Pereira looked terrible. Let's move on to the next fight. Giga Chikadze versus David Onama. This is a fun fight. It was decent. It wasn't the best fight, but it was pretty decent. First round, Giga Chikadze's schooling David Onama, landing the way better strikes. He's too quick, too fast, cracking David Onama a bunch of times. And yeah, Onama kind of looks lost in there. Second round is when Onama starts to, implement some actual takedowns. Goes to the takedown early, gets it, mixes in some good striking, lands a really good shot on Giga Chikadze on the feet. So yeah, Onama wins the second round. Third round, same thing. Lands a couple good shots on Giga Chikadze, takes him down. Didn't really do anything with the grappling. Didn't really try to go for any submissions. Didn't throw too much ground and pound. But I mean, all in all, just a good win from David Onama. Didn't beat Prime Giga Chikadze, not at all. Did not beat the best version of Giga Chikadze, but it's a good version of Giga Chikadze. A version that gave Arnold Allen issues early on in that fight. So yeah, David Onama gets the win, and he's in the rankings now. I think next for David Onama should be. Let's take a look at these rankings here. I think Dan Ige or Calvin Kattar would be a good next fight for David Onama. Um, I don't know. I know those are lower in the rankings than Giga Chikadze, but I don't know. I just think Dan Ige versus David Onama would be a good fight. If we're going up in the rankings for David Onama, then maybe like a Josh Emmett or something. Josh Emmett versus David Onama could be interesting. I don't know. But yeah, David Onama, give him someone in that area from the 15 to 10 area. Josh Emmett, Danny Ige, Calvin Kattar, any of those guys. Actually, Calvin Kattar is going to be unranked now after this fight, so forget Calvin Kattar. Either Danny Ige or Josh Emmett. I think those are the two fights for David Onama. The Josh Emmett fight is higher in the rankings, and it would be like better for Onama's career because he can move up in the rankings. But Danny Ige would be a harder fight, in my opinion. Danny Ige would be a harder fight and just a better win at this point in his career. I'm not going to lie. Josh Emmett's coming off getting schooled by Leroy Murphy. Dan Ige just finished Sean Woodson, who was on a streak. I know it was like a weird stoppage or whatever, but yeah. I think Dan Ige versus David Onama is a good fight. So yeah, let's move on to the next fight. Anthony Smith versus Mingyang Zhang. Mingyang Zhang gets him out of there in the first round by TKO. We all expected this to happen. Anthony Smith just crumbles to the pressure, just like he did against Dominic Reyes. And yeah, good win for Mingyang Zhang. He just battered Anthony Smith with these elbows, cut Smith open bad, and Smith just didn't respond, didn't even try to get back up, just crumpled and stayed there in the fetal position while getting beat up. So, yeah, good win for Mingyang Zhang. Anthony Smith retires. They played some promotional videos for him. Still no promotional videos for Tony Ferguson, by the way, which is insane. But, yeah, Smith got some promotional videos, and he was crying, and he had a good post-fight good post-fight interview on the mic, and yeah, nothing real else to say. Anthony Smith got beat up again, and he retires. He was given the middle finger to some dude in the crowd, and they panned to the crowd, and the spotlight was on like this random fat dude who like had his hands up. I thought that was a bit funny. I don't know, Anthony Smith beefing with a random fat dude. But yeah, Minyan Jang gets it done. Smith was landing some decent shots at the beginning of the fight, landing some good leg kicks, but in the end, Minyan Zhang just started getting the clinch elbows going. He's very dangerous in the clinch, Minyan Zhang. He has some dangerous elbows. He cuts you open, and that's how he got the finish here with the elbows in the clinch. But yeah, good win for Minyan Zhang. Anthony Smith retires. He is a legend. I give my respects and prayers up to Anthony Smith and his family. I hope they all do well. And Anthony Smith, man, he's a legend of the game. Love him or hate him, he is a legend. Can't deny that. But yeah, good retirement. And as for Minyan Zhang, who do I want to see him fight next? This might sound like a bit of a jump up, but I want to see Ming-Yan Zhang take on Volkan Oezdemir. That's who I want to see. I want to see Ming-Yan Zhang take on Volkan Oezdemir. Right now, I'm not even gonna lie. I might lean Oezdemir in that fight. I might pick Volkan Oezdemir, but who knows? If Ming-Yan Zhang could beat Oezdemir, that's a legit contender and a legit ranked fighter. Because I mean, think about it. Like, there's nobody else in the rankings that he could fight. Like Anthony Smith, number 15, he's gone. Alonzo Menafield, I'm not really interested in that fight. Why would he fight only one spot up? Bogdan Gushkov doesn't deserve to fight down, in my opinion. He should fight a little bit higher. Um, maybe you do Bogdan Gushkov versus Ming-Yan Zhang. I don't know. Gushkov could be a fun fight. Mirzakhanov and Johnny Walker are already scheduled. Krylov, you can maybe do Krylov. You can maybe do Krylov or Oezdemir. I'd rather see the Oezdemir fight, though. I think Krylov should take a little bit of time off, and I don't know. I think Krylov should fight Gushkov. I want to see that fight. I want to see Ming-Yan Zhang versus Volkan Oezdemir. Krylov versus Gushkov. My bad. I'm going off track. But yeah, Anthony Smith retires. Good win for Ming-Yan Zhang. Let's move on to the main event. Ian Garry versus Carlos Prates. I went with Ian Garry by decision. He gets it done by decision. 48-47 on two judges' scorecards, 49-46 on the other one. I thought it could have been a 49-46. That fourth round was close, could have went either way, but who knows. Ian Garry honestly schools Carlos Prates for the first three rounds. Prates had nothing for him, couldn't land anything significant, and just Ian Garry just simply outstrikes him, gets in the pocket, boxes him up, lands good head kicks from range. He was just the faster fighter. Like I said this in the build-up, I was telling people, Carlos Prates will struggle on the feet with Ian Garry. Ian Garry's the better striker. Carlos Prates has the power and reach advantage, that's it. If you actually look at their striking, Ian Garry's a better striker. Quicker hands, better footwork, better distance management. He's just a better striker than Carlos Prates, and he showed that in this fight. He outstruck Carlos Prates. Wasn't really any grappling. Ian Garry tried to mix up a little bit of grappling, but all in all, didn't really do too much with it. He got a couple takedowns here and there. Controlled Prates a bit, secured some rounds with it. But, I don't know, this was mostly a striking battle, and Prates just couldn't do anything in the first three rounds. He looked frozen. He looked like he wasn't really, he didn't look all there. He didn't look like he was throwing much. He was kind of just moving forward, trying to find openings, but couldn't. Garry was the faster fighter, beating him to every punch, landing better combinations. Garry just schooled Carlos Prates on the feet, an experienced Muay Thai striker. And you guys will just keep underestimating Ian Garry and hating on him because you don't like his lifestyle. And he's going to continue to win fights and prove you guys wrong. So, yeah, I picked Ian Garry. He gets it done. Let's talk about this fifth round, though. So, the first three rounds, all easily Ian Garry. Right? Ian Garry was up 3-0 going into the fourth. He was schooling Prates. Prates had, no moments. Fourth round, Garry was still beating him up. But Prates did land those decent shots that kind of made Garry's nose bleed. Fifth round, I thought Prates was going to get him out of there. I'm not even going to lie to you. They end up on the ground. Prates lands some good ground and pound, and Garry looks rocked. Right? Gary's stumbling around. He looks rocked. He's trying to find his way back up. Prates is landing some ground and pound, but he's not really able to find the ground and pound openings. Finds a few good shots here and there, but Garry recovers, gets back up, survives to the bell, and my opinion was a 49-46 for Ian Garry. That fourth round could go either way. First three rounds easily Ian Garry. Just outstrikes him. He was the better striker. The better fighter overall. I said this. He's a better striker. He has the grappling upside. More experience. And it's just, Ian Garry's going to win. He has every advantage pretty much. The only advantage he didn't have was power and reach. And I don't like picking fighters who only have a power advantage against their opponent. Look at Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. I was not trusting Josh Emmett at all to get the win there because the only advantage he had in that fight was power. And usually when fighters only have the power advantage, but they're outclassed in everything else, they almost never get the win. It just never happens. So, yeah, Ian Garry outclasses Carlos Prates. Next for Ian Garry. Definitely a fight up in the rankings. I want to see Ian Machado Garry take on Leon Edwards in a Fight Night main event, 5-rounder. Very interesting fight. They're both kind of similar fighters, both primarily strikers. Good accuracy, technical, but they both have a good grappling game that is very underrated. They're both very underrated on the ground. Both of them have grappling in their back pocket. I'd pick Ian in that fight. I just think Ian's a little quicker on the feet, more output, more volume. I think he could hurt Leon in certain moments. Leon just crumbles to pressure too much, and I think on the ground, Ian's also a slightly better grappler, but who knows? Leon has had grappling moments against some really good grapplers like Bilal and Usman, so yeah, it'd be a very interesting fight. I think it'll be a fun technical back and forth battle. Ian Machado Garry versus Leon Edwards. I think Shavkat's going to get the title shot after. I think Shavkat is going to get the title shot after Bilal versus JDM. I think Shavkat's going to fight the winner of that. And then I think Sean Brady versus Joaquin. If Joaquin Buckley beats Usman, I think you should do Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley for a number 1 contender fight. And then Ian Garry versus Leon Edwards for like a number 2 contender fight, I guess. Actually, scratch the Brady Buckley fight. If Buckley beats Usman, okay, listen. Here's what you should do. Matchmaking welterweight is a little bit difficult, especially in the top 7, because it's kind of a logjam right now. But I think you do. So Garry versus Leon, that should happen. Shavkat's getting the next title shot, that's gonna happen. Instead of Brady versus Buckley, you do Brady versus the loser of Bilal versus JDM. So let's say JDM loses to Bilal, you do Sean Brady versus JDM. If Sean Brady beats JDM, he gets the next title shot after Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Bilal Muhammad. So let's say Bilal beats Shavkat, then Brady beats JDM. You do Sean Brady versus Bilal. That's actually a pretty interesting rematch. I don't think Brady was the same in the Bilal fight when they first fought. I think Brady had some stuff going on. But yeah, as for Buckley, if he beats Usman, which he probably is, early prediction, I'm picking Buckley by KO. I think Buckley can face the loser of Ian Garry versus Leon Edwards if he beats Kamaru Usman. I think you do Leon Edwards versus Ian Garry, and then you do Buckley versus Usman. The winner of Ian versus Leon can face whoever. The loser of Ian versus Leon can face Buckley, I guess. I don't know. Matchmaking welterweight's a little difficult right now because everybody needs a fight and it's kind of a logjam. Let me know in the comments how you guys would matchmake the top 7 of welterweight. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Let's move on to the official recap. 11 out of 14 on picks. I think since I started my channel, this is my best card for predictions. So I'm really happy about that. Also went 4 for 4 on locks. And yeah, I'm really happy about that. Did great on picks. Fight of the night, Brown versus Dalby. Finish of the night, Brown versus Dalby. They get both awards. Sick fight, sick finish, absolute scrap, and the flatline KO was just absolutely amazing. Yeah, this was just a sick performance from Randy Brown and a sick fight in general. The knockdown from Dalby in the first round, the nose break from Randy Brown, the KO from Randy Brown, the brawling. This was just a sick fight, sick finish. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. See you guys in the next one. Comment down below if you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know. Also, I'm going to say this again. Comment down below how you guys would matchmake the top 7 of welterweight. I'm very curious because it's a bit of a logjam right now, and trying to matchmake fights for everybody is a little bit difficult. I think if we're ranking based on who deserves title shots, I think Shavkat deserves the next title shot the most. Then Sean Brady, then Buckley, then Garry. I'm seeing some people say Buckley deserves it. No, I think Shavkat's number 1 for most deserving. Brady's number 2. I think Buckley's number 3, slightly above Garry, and then Gary's number 4, depending on what goes down. If Buckley beats Usman and Garry beats Leon, then I don't know. Buckley and Garry are both equally deserving for a title shot, in my opinion, because Gary's got the better wins, but Buckley's riding a lot more momentum and a better win streak. So I don't know. Whatever you guys value more. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.